Welcome back, guys. I'm Riceball, and today we are reviewing the BetaFPV Meteor 75. Wait. Yeah, here it says Meteor 75 Pro. I already done with this video. What was the other one?
Down, brainstormed for like a.
Oh, it's this one. It's this one. I knew it. Super excited for this one, and I'm genuinely glad that I get to try it out since I wanted to try something different. Today, we are reviewing tacos. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Today, we're going to talk about BetaFPV's new Air 75 bind and fly. And so far, we know that the Air 65 pretty much had a positive response from pilots, both from reviewers and people who personally bought it. It certainly set the bar high for bind and fly whoops, so today, I'd like to see if its bigger brother can do the same. So let's first talk about what you get with the bind and fly. Opening the box, we do get the Air 75 itself, one spare set of 40mm Gemfan bi-blade props, a cable and USB-C adapter that you might wanna not lose, a spare translucent-ish white canopy, I believe it's called the light canopy, and some spare screws, actually just exactly 4 pieces. Very minimal, but I would say that this is a good choice from BetaFPV. However, one thing that I would have wanted that I mentioned in the 75 Pro video was that I wanted more spare props. Nonetheless, extra props are not a deal breaker, especially considering that the price of the Air 75 is just $94.99 USD, which in my opinion is a great price. Now, let's go over the components and specs of the Air 75. The Air 75 uses BetaFPV's 0802 SE motors, which are the same ones on the Meteor 75 and 65 Pro, just slightly higher kV of 23,000 kV. Those motors are paired with Gemfan's 40mm bi-blades, and this combination of props and motors is a classic formula for the 75 whoop class. It uses the same CO3 camera that many pilots love, including myself. This time, they did add black tape to cover the back of the camera. If you've ever been bothered by the PCB markings showing up in your DVR, this little tape fixes that. The camera is paired with their flexible light canopy, and it uses a clamp mechanism to hold down the camera. The frame that they're using is the Air 75 frame, which weighs around 4.45 grams, one of the lightest 75 frames out there. It's fairly flexible, but so far I've had no issues with it breaking or experiencing deformation from hard crashes so far. Lastly, the thing that I'm most excited about is their new 4-in-1 all-in-one. Their flight controller uses the ICM 42688P gyro in the new G473 processor. The all-in-one has the usual voltage and current sensor, but it also has twice the amount of black box storage at 16 MB compared to BetaFPV's Cross F4, which only has 8 MB. It has 5A ESCs, and the all-in-one that comes with the Air 75 has an external receiver. You can get it in either Crossfire or ELRS, and the ELRS variant comes with the red flat ceramic antenna. Lastly, to connect to Betaflight, it uses an external USB-C adapter, which personally is a really nice touch. As for weights, for those of you who are curious, the Air 75 comes in at around 21 grams, which is really impressive. And with their 450 Lava 1S batteries, I am getting 33.49 grams. So pretty lightweight, one of the lightest bind and flies out there, and I'm really impressed about that. I like the use of existing components such as the CO3 camera and the 0802 motors because it makes sourcing parts significantly easier and that they're already available in multiple places. As for the all-in-one, BetaFPV and a few other places already have it on their stores, and I'm sure that they'll start being available in more stores in a few months. I do want to say that I really don't like the light canopy. I tried this canopy out several months ago and I've consistently broken these at the exact same spot and went through several in just a few months. If these are the exact same canopies, I'd want to get some spares on hold. So far, I really like the new all-in-one that they have. I like the choices that they made, such as removing the USB port, not using motor connectors, and making solder pads larger. I've also noticed that most of the solder pads are either on the bottom side or at the edge of the flight controller. As a frame designer and builder, these factors make designing, building, and repair a lot easier. Before we continue, there is something that I want to point out regarding the UFL connector on the Air 65 and Air 75. During the past few weeks in Reddit, I've seen more and more people have issues with the UFL coming off. Don't worry, there is a fix to this, but before that, if you plan to buy an Air 65 or 75 or already have one, I highly recommend you to attach that antenna somewhere else, maybe on the frame, just to make it more secure and less likely to come off. If you're already having issues and your UFL connector on the board already came off, there is going to be a link in the description to a post made by Neotil1. He makes a great post on how to fix this, and it looks hard, but at least you can still save your 4-in-1 or 5-in-1. If there was one word I could describe the Air 75, it would be exciting. It has a certain charm to it that I want to talk about that I did not initially realize the first time I was flying this. Some points that I will mention might be comparisons between the Air 75 and 75 Pro, but I will say now that they are completely different and both have their own niche to cover. However, there are a few reasons why I like the Air 75 more than the Meteor 75 Pro. Now, let's talk about the flight performance and characteristics of the Air 75. Similar to the Meteor 75 Pro, I will be flying this outdoors, indoors, and in my room. Side note, I'm super lucky I got the chance to fly in a different place for once. For this first time, I flew around a playground and oh my goodness, that's life-changing. Also, if you see a kid in some of these flights, rest assured that's just my cousin who, oddly enough, really loves smashing the hell out of the 75 Pro. To anyone doubting the durability of the 75 Pro, hope this clears stuff up. Even with minimal wind, the Air 75 performs very well, and I personally really enjoyed flying it outside. I'd say the majority of pilots will appreciate the amount of control it has in an open space and its racing and freestyle capabilities. There is still some minimal prop wash on things like dives, but I'd say that there are a lot less compared to the Meteor 75 Pro. Overall, if you have a calm or slightly windy day, I'd say you'd have lots of fun with the Air 75 even without making changes to PIDs or making any mods. I also want to point out that the Air 75 feels fast, likely a product of the high camera tilt and somewhat high KV. It can do punch-outs and gain altitude fairly quickly, and with the bi-blade props that come with it, it allows to cover a large area fairly quickly and also helps you recover. I do want to advise you guys not to use turtle mode if there is a high chance that there is something limiting the motors, for example when using turtle mode on grass. The number one reason micro all-in-ones like this fail is because people and pilots often put too much strain on the ESCs while using turtle mode. Going back, I certainly had lots of fun flying outside with it, and I found myself having full confidence in doing tricks even around people such as my cousin. It was fun zipping around big areas, and the Air 75 has more than enough power to do freestyle without worrying about recovering. Lightweight plus high KV, that's a good formula. Another side note, to the dad who enjoyed watching me fly in the playground, your compliments made my day and I hope you're doing well, whoever you are. This is where I started to feel the difference between the Air 75 and the 75 Pro. And I'll be blunt, the Meteor 75 Pro's throttle control and yaw authority kinda slightly superior compared to the Air 75. The Meteor 75 Pro uses 45mm tri-blades, larger motors, and has more mass. These characteristics make it feel very controllable and smooth at low speeds, even when you fly indoors. Very similar to a Cinewhoop. It is really good at cruising and smooth flights in its stock configuration. However, at lower weight, smaller size, and higher KV, the Air 75 definitely puts it closer to a traditional whoop, something that is very responsive, which makes maneuvering indoors relatively easy, even at high speeds. If you notice that you're having trouble with throttle management with the Air 75, that's actually kind of normal for whoops. Because of their extremely low weight and high KV, the throttle gets very sensitive after a certain throttle percent. To fix this, I recommend going to Betaflight or into your OSD menu in your goggles and playing around with throttle mid and expo. Despite the more sensitive throttle control, I can definitely say that with the Air 75, I am so much more comfortable doing tricks and maneuvering around in an indoor space, especially at higher speeds. And that's actually why I said that this was exciting. It's fast, maneuverable, and just generally really fun to fly. Lastly, flying in my room was incredibly fun. I wouldn't recommend beginners to do this, but flying fast in my room was a bit of a challenge that didn't feel too hard to achieve. It was exhilarating and I genuinely enjoyed the thrill of flying the Air 75 in my room. Nowhere as fast as racing pilots, but definitely fast enough to get my adrenaline going. Again, at its stock settings, the yaw control and throttle management are a little less compared to the 75 Pro, but I found myself quickly adapting and putting more stick input to make up for the small decrease in authority. And I'll be honest, the first time I flew this, I actually didn't fly so well and I kept crashing. I genuinely didn't know if it was just a pilot issue since I've been flying already for 2 weeks in the US. Perhaps I just got used to the open space that my indoor flying skills dulled out. Nevertheless, I gave it another go the next day and I had an extremely fun time. I did try Gemfun's 1608 tri-blade props, which I use for my Hachidori V2 build to try to give it a little bit more yaw authority. I definitely got that more yaw control, but at the cost of losing that zippy feeling. Just to wrap things up, let's summarize some of the important points that I made about the Air 75. The physical build and specs of the Air 75 is a big W for me. I like the low weight at 21 grams and the motor prop combination really makes it fast. On the other hand, the new all-in-one has been great for me so far, and I like how easy it was to solder to it, and the external USB connector is just the cherry on top. The Bind and Fly as a whole felt pretty standard, including minimal goodies, which is fine at the price point, but I did want some spare props. Most of my flights lasted around 5 minutes on BetaFPV's Lava 450 1S folded batteries, that is a lot to say, which by the way fit very well in the battery tray of the Air 75 frame. I found myself really enjoying flying freestyle outdoors, especially in parks and playgrounds, even with minimal winds. I felt confident that I could do tricks, and if I ever needed to, recovering wasn't too hard either. Flying indoors was also fun and challenging in the best way, though you'll have to adjust to how fast the Air 75 can go. It's certainly a very rewarding feeling to maneuver a small space at high speeds. If you prefer to fly slower and more precisely, you can use tri-blades, lower your camera angle with a different canopy, or manipulate throttle mid and expo to suit your flying style. Though the stock Air 75 doesn't have the same level of controllability as the 75 Pro, the difference is minimal and the Air 75 can definitely get your adrenaline going, and personally, it was a lot more exciting for me compared to the stock 75 Pro. Lastly, I have a feeling that the Air 75 will actually have a good following behind it. Just like the 75 Pro, there are a lot of things that we can do to improve it. I've already seen people working on better PID tunes, and someone even messaged me telling me that you can directly move the Air 75 electronics into the Hachidori V2 frame. From a modding perspective, it's almost like you're growing alongside the Air 75 as you tinker with it. And I guess this is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little review for the Air 75, and thank you also to BetaFPV for sending this over for testing. I genuinely really enjoyed flying the Air 75, and I'm actually hesitating if I want to mod this or move it to my Hachidori frame. This thing just flies really well that, you know what, I might just get a second one to mod and play around with. Nonetheless, if you want to get one of these bad boys for yourself, there will be an affiliate link down in the description to BetaFPV's product page. This also means that I get a little commission every time the affiliate link is used, which actually helps fund the channel. As always, I want to take this chance to say thank you to you guys for watching. We're very close to 1K subs now, which is honestly absolutely insane, so thank you guys so much for all the support. I love getting to make these videos, but having you guys here makes it even more fun. And with that, thank you again for watching, and see you guys in the next video, which is part 2 of material testing. See ya!